Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week we're going to be talking about grasshoppers and locusts, and we'd like to thank Mike Luoma for mentioning our podcast on his podcast. It's called Glow in the Dark Radio. Mike's a science fiction author, and he reads his books on his podcast, and he has a race of insectoid aliens called the Secta in his science fiction, and I thought this would be a good episode to thank him on. So it's Glow in the Dark Radio. You can check it out on your favorite podcast app. We're going to have a 5-day promotion on Amazon for our 12th ebook, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, Book 12, from 7/7 to 7/11. And we'll have a special episode with all the chapters and some details. A grasshopper-like insect dates back around 300 million years. Discover magazine says a study by Texas A&M University found evidence of grasshoppers in South America that date back 59 million years. And ancient Egyptians carved images of locusts into their tombs depicting swarms eating their crops. The Kansas Historical Society said during the grasshopper plague of 1874, swarms of grasshoppers sounded like a rainstorm, and the swarm could be so large it would block out the sun. They could eat fields of crops right down to the ground, and they would eat the wool off the back of sheep and clothing off the back of people. And they say the grasshoppers were so thick on the ground in some areas, trains couldn't get started or go uphill because the tracks were so slippery. And they usually would invade an area for around 2 days, but sometimes they stayed for up to a week in an area, destroying the crops and gardens.
When was this?
1874. And then they had another big plague in the 1930s, early 1930s.
So are we due for another one?
I hope not. There are thousands of species of grasshoppers around the world. Most in the U.S. are 1 to 2 inches long. They have large compound eyes with hundreds of lenses and 3 small eyes between them, so they're very good at picking up the motion of potential predators.
Freaky.
They have 6 legs. The back 2 are very large and designed for jumping. Some can jump up to 3 feet.
No way.
Pretty crazy. Most grasshoppers have 2 sets of wings, but some don't have wings. And some grasshoppers with wings can't use them to fly.
Then what's the point?
Yeah, really. Their exoskeleton is usually brown, gray, or green, but different species adapt or change color every time they molt. One university study found some grasshoppers change from green to brown as humidity levels change.
Weird.
Some grasshoppers have brightly colored spots or stripes to warn predators that they're toxic. They'll spread out their wings and force air and toxins through their breathing tubes, so it makes a hissing sound, and the toxins they release can make birds or animals very sick. And many of these grasshoppers will build up the toxins in their body by eating toxic plants. Amazing how insects adapt, huh?
Yes.
They can hear from organs either on their abdomen or legs, depending on the species. The University of Purdue says...
That'd be their ears?
Yeah. They'd have ears on their belly or their legs. The University of Purdue says many grasshoppers have a defense mechanism called defensive regurgitation, so they'll vomit the contents of their stomach and digestive enzymes if they're scared.
Gross.
Purdue University said there's a few species of birds that do the same thing. The turkey vulture will projectile vomit onto anything approaching their nest. Many male grasshoppers will rub their back legs against their wings or snap their wings together to make a sound while they're flying to attract a mate. Female grasshoppers have a sharp egg-laying tube at the end of their abdomen to lay eggs in soil. The fertilized eggs are stuck together to form a pod, usually 15 to 100 eggs. Some species, they'll have more eggs. And in the fall, the grasshoppers are laying the eggs, and then they hatch in the spring. And most grasshoppers die when it gets cold. Only the eggs survive winter. Grasshoppers usually aren't a problem for most homeowners with a garden or landscape plants, And if you have a few grasshoppers from time to time, it's usually a sign of a healthy environment. The University of Nebraska says areas with less than 25 to 30 inches of rainfall annually, though, seem to have the biggest problem with grasshoppers damaging garden and landscape plants. And grasshopper populations fluctuate from year to year, and they tend to run in multi-year cycles. If you see a lot more grasshoppers than normal, generally...
So like what, more than 2?
Yeah, if I see more than 7 grasshoppers, I'm panicking. So if you see an increase in grasshoppers one year, probably the next couple of years can be bad, and it can be very bad for your garden or your landscape plants.
Okay.
And early control is the best way to do it. So before they get out of control, if you see an increase, it's time to try to do something about it.
Okay.
The University of Colorado says grasshoppers tend to prefer lettuce, carrots, beans, and onions in a garden, but when the population is high, they'll eat almost any garden or landscape plant, along with small trees and shrubs. The University of California says when grasshopper populations are low, just go into your garden or your landscape area and hand pick them off your plants and then step on them.
Wow.
Floating row covers help protect plants that attract grasshoppers. So the cover is a lightweight woven plastic or cloth material. It's going to allow light, water, and air to pass through, but it's going to stop grasshoppers and also other pests like caterpillars or beetles. With some plants, you can just throw the cover right over them. For taller or sensitive plants, you would have PVC or metal hoops that are pushed into the ground, and then you're going to drape that cover over that.
Okay.
The University of Nebraska says during years with high grasshopper populations, use aluminum screening to cover your garden plants.
Why?
Large amounts of grasshoppers will chew through plastic or fabric screen.
Jerks.
And row covers are also going to help prevent damage from rabbits and deer. You want to remove the covers during the day for plants that need pollination. Root crops and leafy greens don't need pollination, so you can keep them covered full time.
Okay.
The University of Nebraska and Utah State University say grasshoppers are the easiest to control when they're young. They recommend the chemical carbaryl found in the brand 7, carbaryl C-A-R-B-A-R-Y-L. So 7 is S-E-V-I-N. They have a ready-to-use dust for round and in gardens and landscape areas. It'll control grasshoppers and a wide range of other insects, although it does kill beneficial insects. And it's an insecticide, so you have to read and follow the application instructions carefully. The University of California suggests having a trap crop around your garden.
What is that?
So this is a border of plants around your garden to stop grasshoppers and other pests. And they're saying dust this or spray it with malathion or carbaryl. And this is going to kill
Are you just making up words?
So malathion, another chemical that a couple of these universities recommend, M-A-L-A-T-H-I-O-N. So if you saturate the plants in this trap crop around your garden, this is going to keep pests out of your garden, and you're not putting these chemicals on any or around your garden plants.
Okay.
Mother Earth News recommends using diatomaceous earth in your garden on the plants and on the soil. Diatomaceous earth is the fossilized remains of microscopic algae. It'll damage the thin, waxy protective layer on insects and the exoskeleton. So it kills insects, but it's non-toxic to people and pets. They're saying use food-safe diatomaceous earth that's OMRI listed, and that's safe for organic gardening.
Mm-hmm.
And wear a dust mask when you're applying it. It's safe and non-toxic, but you don't want to inhale it. It'll irritate your lungs.
Okay.
The brand Harris, Harris, and Safer, Safer, have diatomaceous earth. Safer also has an insect-killing soap and an insect soap with pyrethrin, and they're both OMRI listed.
Okay.
So pyrethrin, Pyrethrin, is an
Do people like it when you spell?
Yeah, I get nothing but compliments on my spelling. So pyrethrin is an organic insecticide made from the pyrethrum flower, which is the chrysanthemum flower. The Chinese were crushing chrysanthemum plants around...
I can't say that.
Chrysanthemum?
Right.
Say it.
No.
So the Chinese were crushing chrysanthemum plants around 1000 BC and using the powder to kill insects.
Well, Wonder what else they tried that didn't work.
Yeah.
You think they just crushed a bunch of stuff?
Yeah, just everything, man. So the pyrethrin is much safer than most insecticides. It's approved for organic gardens, very low risk to people and pets, except for some cats, honeybees, and ladybugs. And it's also safer than synthetic forms of pyrethrin. So if you see pyrethroids, like permethrin, that's the synthetic version. But if you see pyrethrin on a label, that's the organic version of it.
So say that again.
Permethrin is the synthetic version.
Why couldn't they come up with a different name?
Yeah, they all sound very similar. Yeah. And insect soap is safe for bees when it's dry.
Okay.
Clemson University says insecticidal soaps are made from plant or animal oils, and they're among the safest pesticides. They're virtually non-toxic to people and pets, and
What do you mean virtually?
That's just what I read in this article.
Either.
I specifically wrote virtually from this article. So they're virtually non-toxic to people and pets, and most beneficial insects aren't harmed by them, especially after they're dry. And some top-rated insecticidal soaps come from Bonide, Bonide, Espoma, Espoma, and Garden Safe. There's a naturally occurring microbe that can infect and kill grasshoppers and some crickets. It's called Nosema locusta. It's Nosema, capital Locustae. It's non-toxic to humans, pets, wild animals, birds, and fish. Companies will mix this microbe into a bait, and when grasshoppers eat it, they get infected, they become lethargic, and then they die after a week or two. It's going to work best if you put it down early in spring to stop young grasshoppers, and you're going to reduce the numbers of grasshoppers around your home. The EPA has been studying this microbe for over 20 years, and they have it listed in the lowest level of toxicity for people. Some top-rated brands that use the microbe: Nolo Bait, it's Nolo, capital Bait, and this is approved for organic production. And Semaspore Bait, it's Semaspore, capital Bait, and that one is OMRI listed. Mother Earth News suggests planting cilantro as a barrier all around your garden to repel grasshoppers.
Interesting.
Some gardeners say that they've found that garlic oil repels grasshoppers. And rather than a hedgerow to create a border around your garden, some gardeners recommend a 6-foot wide strip of grass cut low to the ground. So this is going to remove cover for grasshoppers, it's going to expose them to birds and other animals, and they're not attracted to areas with low grass. Grasshoppers are grouped into two types, one with short antenna and one with long antenna, and they're called short-horned or long-horned. And there's a group of short-horned grasshoppers that turn into locusts under certain conditions. So when the population is low, this type of grasshopper is solitary. It avoids other insects. But when the population is high and there's a lot of stimulation from other grasshoppers, so they're bumping into each other, they morph into a locust. They become bigger, stronger, they change color, they become more social. So they want to gather and swarm with the other locusts. And their physical appearance is so different when it turns into a locust that scientists used to think that locusts were a unique species. Crazy, isn't it?
It is.
The University of Oxford found that the grasshopper species that can change into a locust can be triggered into changing by constant touching. And they think that smell and temperature may also have an effect. Scientific American says a new study shows that serotonin can cause certain types of grasshoppers to change into a locust. So scientists injected serotonin into one type of grasshopper, and in 2 to 3 hours, it morphed into a locust.
Freaky.
And when locusts swarm, they can cover long distances. Some have been tracked to travel 80 miles a day, and swarms can have billions of locusts. The average swarm can eat the same amount of crops as 2,500 people a day.
Wow. It's supposed to be bad this year, right? With the
Yeah,
locusts
there's a few areas around the world. Yeah, luckily it's not a problem in the U.S.
Do you have anything else to add?
We're going to be having a 5-day special. You can get a free download of our new ebook, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, Book 12. It's going to be from 7/7 to 7-Eleven on Amazon.
I'm pretty surprised you didn't bring up the TV show Kung Fu.
Oh, I loved that show when I was
So
younger.
did my dad.
It was great.
With the grasshopper.
And why didn't they have Bruce Lee playing the main character?
Where's this going? Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, CastBox, or your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our ebooks, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, books 1 through 11, soon book 12 on Amazon.
Book 12's on there.
Book 12's on. Wait for a free one.
Why would you say that? Buy all 12.
Yes. Oh, so book 12, Cindy put in all of the chapters from all the previous books, so you got to get book 12.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Cindy on Twitter @FixItCohost, and you can follow us on Instagram, Fix It Home Improvement.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.
Thank you.